When orders meet obstruction, every second counts. Iron Gate.
A 911 operator in Cincinnati just committed a federal crime on Facebook, doxing ICE agents' locations to help illegal immigrants escape arrest. Hadley Davis used her position of public trust to obstruct federal law enforcement operations in real time. This is not activism, it's sabotage of our immigration system, and it could have gotten federal agents killed. And this exposes how deep the resistance runs in our own emergency services. When 9/11 operators, people sworn to protect and serve, are actively working against federal law enforcement, no immigration operation is safe. Your tax dollars are paying this woman's salary to coordinate emergency response, not to tip off criminals about ICE raids. Meanwhile, Tom Homan is begging politicians to let ICE do their jobs safely in jails, but they'd rather virtue signal than protect Americans. We're witnessing the complete breakdown of law and order from within our own institutions. Every sanctuary city policy, every obstruction, every leaked operation location puts both agents and communities at risk. Now, I do need to speak of, since we're speaking of people struggling with daily battles, I do need to share something personal that's changed everything for my family. Now, for years, my wife battled chronic pain and anxiety from her diagnosis, endless doctor's visits, treatments that failed. Watching her struggle daily, it broke my heart. Then Jonathan Otto introduced us to red light therapy, and everything changed. Her pain vanished, anxiety lifted. She became herself again. Red light therapy uses specific wavelengths to reduce inflammation, boost cellular energy, and promote natural healing. Unlike prescription drugs with side effects, this is pure science working with your body's natural processes. When our institutions are failing us, we need solutions that actually work, and red light therapy is delivering results when nothing else could. So just like my wife found healing through proven science, America needs solutions that actually work, not more obstruction from rogue operators. You can take advantage of the exclusive discounts just for Next News viewers at the link in the description. Make sure you use the promo codes for full discounts. That's myredlight.com. But here's what makes this even more worse. Hadley Davis proudly lists her credentials on LinkedIn as a professional first responder. And see, she's not a random activist. She's trained in emergency protocols and chose to weaponize her position. And the irony is staggering. While border apprehensions dropped to historic lows under Trump, we have our own emergency services working against federal law enforcement. Now we're going to go into the White House press briefing room to kick things off here. But here is where the press secretary is discussing the so-called nonviolent crimes and how the White House is responding. This is earlier today at the White House.
There's a lot of liberal talk, and I've seen this CBS report floating around. There's a lot of liberal talking heads and pundits and Democrat elected politicians who think that this single story and these statistics and the way they are painted is somehow a shot at this administration. It is not, and let me correct the record. Number one, the Trump administration has been clear from day one that any illegal alien present in this country is subject to deportation. However, the priority, of course, is going after the convicted criminals, the worst of the worst, the murderers, the pedophiles, the rapists in this country. Interestingly, in the CBS story, what the Democrat talking heads on television are not saying is this line. Nearly 60% of ICE arrestees over the past year had criminal charges or convictions. And among that population, the majority of the criminal charges or convictions are for nonviolent crimes. Oh, well, what are nonviolent crimes, you ask? This has coincided with what DHS has been saying all along, that approximately 70% of illegal aliens arrested under President Trump have pending criminal charges and or prior convictions. And these so-called nonviolent crimes, drug trafficking, distribution of child porn, burglary, fraud, DUI, embezzlement, solicitation of a minor, and human smuggling, just to name a few. So just because a crime is not violent in nature doesn't mean that crime is victimless. And I can guarantee every single person who is out there on television right now pointing to these statistics that were taken out of context by CBS News would not want an illegal alien convicted of the distribution of child porn or fraud or DUI living in your community. So the Trump administration will continue our focus on deporting all illegal aliens present in our country with a focus on the worst of the worst criminals. And I've seen this CBS report floating around.
Of course, the press secretary laying it out perfectly about the definition of nonviolent crimes, setting up perfectly for ICE director to drop the real numbers on criminal aliens in custody. Acting ICE director Todd Lyons explains how the 14% doesn't include the dangerous criminals such as drug traffickers, human traffickers, and burglars. Listen.
Just to address your the numbers with the 14%, sir, that's 14% that are listed as violent criminal felonies. However, what's left out of that is the fact that what's left off that list.
Those 70% that don't have a traffic ticket and deported. How has that made our nation stronger?
Sir, if you look at what ICE has done, more than 60% of every individual that is in ICE custody has a pending or a conviction on a criminal charge.
A pending or conviction. With those statistics established, we're about to see how Democrats are spreading false narratives about these operations. Let's take a look. Stephen Chung posting this earlier today. Here is Eric Swallowswell gets fact-checked for peddling an outright lie he knows to be false. And the ICE director going into him.
From ICE?
No, sir, I won't.
Why not?
Because, sir, that child that you're showing right there, the men and women of ICE took care of him when his father abandoned him and ran from law enforcement.
Time. Mr. Lyons, will you resign from ICE?
No, sir, I won't.
Why not?
Because, sir, that child that you're showing right there, the men and women of ICE took care of him when his father abandoned him and ran from law enforcement.
Time. Mr. Lyons,
yeah, they want him to
will you resign from ICE?
Of course, he's not going to resign. That's the only narrative that they can continue. And Representative Shri Thandiar threatens the CBP Commissioner, Rodney Scott.
Well, you better hope so. You better hope you get been pardoned, because you will be held accountable for the absolute disregard of the law your agencies have shown over the past year. Your agencies have lost the trust of the American people, with millions taking to the streets to protect the illegal actions of your agencies. And that's why I introduced a bill in the United States Congress to abolish ICE. ICE must be...
Yeah, I mean, first off, this guy is reading off his talking points prepared by his staffer, not even reading them very well. Clearly, English is not his first language. He's like mid-sentence. He's got to turn the page. I mean, you can see just how scripted this entire attack line is. But from threats to policy failures, watch how sanctuary cities are making ICE's jobs exponentially more dangerous. Representative Eli Crane to Director Lyons.
I don't think a lot of Americans really understand these sanctuary cities. Mr. Scott, Mr. Lyons, is it true that you would rather send your officers into a jail to get some of these illegal alien criminals? Is it safer for your agents and also the illegal alien criminal if your officers are able to go into a jail instead of having to go out and find them on the street? Mr. Lyons, I'll start with you.
Yes, sir, it would be. You wouldn't see the amount of law enforcement officers involved in immigration operations.
Right. How about you, Mr. Scott?
I 100% agree with the director, and just as importantly, it would allow me to put more agents back on the border to prevent people from getting in here in the first place.
Seems pretty simple. The danger is real, but Swalwell's about to get completely destroyed when he tries to challenge ICE with even more false claims. Let's go to that. And we have this from, let's see, this is it. Swalwell walked into today's hearing with Customs and Border officials with confidence that was destroyed after the ICE Director Todd Lyons decided to bring up facts.
For 5 minutes.
A couple nights ago, I met with a woman who works as a cashier at a grocery store, and I told her I was coming to see you.
Oh, wait, was she a Chinese spy? Is that where you make your rendezvous, Swallows well? I was at the grocery store doing a recon on my next victim. Yeah. Okay, swallows well. Whatever.
Yes or no? I now recognize the gentleman from California, Mr. Swalwell, for 5 minutes.
A couple nights ago, I met with a woman who works as a cashier at a grocery store, and I told her I was coming to see you, Mr. Lyons, and she said, will you ask him, and she didn't want to give her name. She was terrified to give her name. But she said, when I get off my shift around midnight and I walk through the parking lot to my car, she said, if somebody rolls up in an unidentified van and gets out wearing all black and their face is covered and they don't have any identification and they ask me to get into the van, how do I know who they are? How does she know, Mr. Lyons? How does she know if they're an ICE agent or bad guys?
Sir, ICE agents have identifiable placards on their uniforms as well as their badges representative, but you won't see ICE agents rolling through the parking lots and just snatching someone up. ICE does intelligence-driven, targeted enforcement operations.
Well, Mr. Homan and others have said that they target individuals based on the color of their skin and the accents that they speak, and that's why people are running through the fields and factories where they work. Director Lyons, last year you said in Phoenix at the Border Security Expo that you wanted to see a deportation process that was like, quote, Amazon Prime, but with human beings. Mr. Lyons, how many times has Amazon Prime shot a mom 3 times in the face?
None, sir, but you're also...
It's the square root of 0, that's right.
Yes, sir. Yeah, but if we're going to go down that route of my comment, I did say that comment. However, that comment was taken out. If you go back and watch the video, I did say that we need to be more efficient when it comes to removing individuals from the United States, because ICE doesn't detain punitively. We detain to remove. I don't want to see people in custody. At the end of my statement was, and again, to your point, it was a industry day for AI and efficiencies, but I did say at the end of it, but we deal with human beings, so we can't be like them.
And speaking
That's
of human,
the key part that you're leaving out.
Well, speaking of human beings, how many times has Amazon Prime shot a nurse 10 times in the back?
None.
How many times has Amazon Prime dragged a woman out of her car by her hair and then dragged her down the street?
None.
How many ICE agents have been fired for their conduct under your leadership?
Sir, I can get you that data. I'll get that back to you.
Is it more than one?
I'm not going to speak about personnel actions, but I'll get you that data.
Can you tell us if at least, God, I hope at least one person has been fired for their conduct since these operations have begun? Are you telling us you can't even say one person's been fired?
Sir, I'm not going to talk about personnel actions, but we will get back to you.
But 2 people have been killed so far. Is that right? A nurse named Preddy and a mom named Good. 2 people have been killed so far.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lyons, will you apologize to the family of Renee Good for being called a domestic terrorist by the president and his leadership?
Okay, enough. Enough airtime given to Eric Swalwell. Let's continue. Andy Beshear admits he's cooperating with ICE as he smears them and calls them to remove them from states. Did my whole system just freeze up on me here? Well, let's just move in here and see what we got.
Well, the first thing we're doing is we as Democratic governors are all calling it out. ICE needs to be entirely reformed. Secretary Noem needs to be fired, and every agent ought to be withdrawn from any and every community they're in and fully retrained.
But you've got 25 local law enforcement agencies now partnering with ICE in Kentucky.
Well, they're partnering with ICE, but that doesn't mean they're engaging in the type of activities that you see in Minnesota or elsewhere.
In Minnesota or elsewhere, the hypocrisy is clear, but here's the kicker. ICE operations are delivering unprecedented results. Here is CBP Commissioner Rodney Scott. Let's get to that real quick. Rodney Scott. Let's find that one.
No, sir.
Rodney Scott.
For the, oh, you better hope so. You better hope you get been pardoned, because you will be held accountable for the absolute disregard of the law your agencies have shown over the past year. Your agencies have lost the trust of the American people, with millions taking to the streets to protect the illegal actions of your agencies. And that's why I introduced a bill in the United States Congress to abolish ICE. ICE must be abolished. Well, you better hope so. You better hope you get been pardoned, because you...
Okay, and we have some more here for you. Having some technical difficulties, but here is Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin condemning the elected officials who encourage Alex Preddy to put himself in harm's way.
It seemed to be a Rorschach test. When you saw Alex Preddy killed,
It was horrific.
it was.
horrific.
What
It was
did
a
you think? Because that
tragedy.
seemed to be a
And-
Rorschach test for people.
So what ended up happening is the people who organized this, the elected officials who are encouraging this, they encourage Alex Preddy to put himself into harm's way. So they knew that those people were endangered, and they got their martyrs, didn't they? They got their martyrs. No, it's a tragedy. I think it's sick. I think it's sick that elected officials would encourage their supporters, their trained activists, to put themselves into harm's way to impede and obstruct legal law enforcement actions. That is exactly what's happening. You have to face that reality. It's a sick reality.
Senator, to the extent when you saw.
Let's continue here. We have some more. Johnson's calling for prosecutions, and here's a sitting senator explaining exactly why the obstruction needs to stop. Marsha Blackburn weighing in on the matter as well. Let's see, where's Marsha Blackburn? Here she is. Sanctuary cities are releasing violent criminals despite ICE detainers.
Can they refuse to cooperate with federal authorities? I mean, whatever happened to the supremacy clause?
And, you know, we are going to give them the opportunity to vote if they want to keep that, or if they want to do away with these sanctuary city policies. And I think that every Democrat should vote to do away with these sanctuary city policies, because it is a way for people to avoid complying with U.S. law.
Yeah, and it's not just the mayors or the governors, we should say. All these local judges. I mean, part of the supremacy clause is that state judges are bound by federal law. They are bound not by state law, but by federal law, even if they are state judges. And yet they have been supporting the sanctuary cities. When is the Supreme Court going to come and put their foot down and stop this nonsense?
Well, and we would like to see the Supreme Court take up some of these cases that are waiting before them. And it is just important to note that the American people agree with where President Trump and Republicans are. Criminal, illegal aliens need to be deported.
Yeah.
And they want to see people abide by the rule of law, and they want to see compliance with the rule of law. And, you know, David, all these millions that came in under Joe Biden, making certain that people that have committed crimes, that have these records, are removed from our communities.
Right.
And we've seen enough personal injury, loss of life, heartbreak and sadness, and people want these criminals removed from the country.
And it's not since when.
And we're going to get to Tom Homan's remarks right now. Here's President Trump. Let's just talk about the crime for a moment.
Calls from your own supporters. You've had successes on immigration, some big ones. Illegal border crossings are at historic lows, but the entire country watched those videos of 2 Americans being killed in Minneapolis. Yes. You've gotten calls from your own supporters to make changes, and now you're pulling out some officers from Minneapolis. Are there more changes coming?
Well, the reason we're pulling out, because we've done a great job there. You know, we have crime down there, despite tremendous blowback from a governor that's incompetent and from a mayor who's just, I don't know what the hell, where he comes from, but the crime numbers in Minnesota and Minneapolis in particular are down 25, 30%. Because we've removed thousands of criminals from the area. These are hardened criminals. They came in, many of them, most of them came in through an open border, and we've done a great job. But look at Washington, D.C. It's like a safe city. You can walk to the White House. You didn't have to take an armored vehicle. You could walk. Washington safe. Look at what happened in Louisiana. I got a call from the governor. Right. Please do something with New Orleans. We went there 4 weeks ago. Crime is down 71%. Memphis, Tennessee, crime is down 80% after 5 weeks. And here's a big thing. Crime historically in this country, it's down at the lowest level it's ever been. And a bad word, murder. We've had less murders than we have had in decades.
Yeah. One more question on the Super Bowl.
And you know why? Because we're tough on crime.
You've had successes on immigration, some big ones.
Because we are tough on crime. Here is Tom Homan. But first, I want to get to this really sad reality. The 9/11 operator in Cincinnati allegedly doxing ICE's live locations. Authorities reviewing potential violations of ORC 2921.13, falsification, misuse of official information, and 18 U.S.C. 1505, obstruction of proceedings. Hadley Davis, this is the post that she made on Facebook, allegedly. Cincinnati ICE is currently on the west side and also specifically at the Walmart on Ferguson. These are her Facebook posts, allegedly, going back to December. Hadley Davis, first responder, Cincinnati Emergency Communication Center. That's where your tax dollars are going. And we have this also, Secretary Noem getting tagged in these posts. 9/11 operator named Hadley Davis doxing location of ICE agents in Cincy. Clear violation. She works at the Cincinnati Emergency Contact Center. Now let's check in with Tom Homan.
If you really want to, I am not a fool. I know there are people that want this to happen. There is a population there that wants the chaos. But for the politicians that say, we want you to arrest the criminals, we want you to target the criminals, but not let me in the jails, you can't square that. If you really want to arrest the criminals and target the criminals, which I do, then let us do it in the safety and security of a jail or a prison, where it's safer for the alien, safer for the community, and safer for the agents. So for those, and there's many of them, on both sides of the aisle, says public safety threats are what you should be concentrating on. So everybody should come together and make that happen and give us access to the jails. I am not a fool.
But of course, they don't want to get Trump to win. And that's what it comes down. He said it perfectly. Politicians want criminals arrested, but won't let ICE work safely in jails. And of course, then we discover the 911 operator actively sabotaging operations on social media. They're not just obstructing justice, they're endangering lives while demanding we trust them with our safety. This is exactly why Trump's mandate matters. Americans voted for immigration enforcement and not sabotage from within. Within our own security services, our own emergency services, when 911 operators become accomplices to criminal networks, the system is completely broken down. We can't have emergency responders picking and choosing which laws to enforce based on their personal politics. Every leaked location, every obstructed operation, every sanctuary city policy makes America less safe. The deep state resistance is not just in Washington, it's in our police stations, it's in our city halls, and now our emergency dispatch centers. Do you trust 911 operators who leak federal operations to protect your family in a real emergency? Check out the next news merch shop for gear that shows you stand with actual law enforcement, not political activists in uniform.
The system controls information. Information control is power.
They don't want you to see this.
The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.